So, if given the choice, would you rather be swallowed whole by a megalodon or drowned to death?
Good lord. Kind of like the same thing. One, you're just like, well...
One's definitely speedier than the other, you know?
Yeah, I guess I'd rather be swallowed whole. It would just... I don't know. I feel like
But if you don't die right away, then you have to be like fucking...
But then you're just drowned to death inside of a shark.
Yeah.
You're basically suffocated or drowned to death. But
Yeah.
you're inside a shark. I don't know. It's just drowning just sounds so horrible to me. It always has. Drowning just is like one of those like movie fears.
Yeah, I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast or not. I probably have, knowing us, but there's a movie called The Hunley, which is about the first underwater submersible, and it's during the Civil War. I wanted to say the British. The guys that were not the good guys. What are those guys called?
What war?
Huh?
Which war?
Civil War.
Like the North and the South?
Yeah, what
Civil
was
War?
the South? Yeah, there we go. Sorry, there's actual like names for them because the North were the.
Well, I don't think Europe was involved in our Civil War.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I wanted to call them the British, but that is incorrect. I was just thinking that the British has the bad guys, which is the War for Independence. There we go. Anyways, I digress. The Civil War, the South, they had created an underwater submersible called the Hunley, and there's a great film on it, but essentially, spoiler alert, all of the guys end up, the sub catches a leak. As you can imagine, very rudimentary, like, stuff that they're dealing with. It's not high tech by any means.
Civil War
so
stuff.
it's just a metal thing that essentially sinks, and the entire crew has to kind of drown to death, and they know that they're going to drown to death. There's no way for them to really escape, and they have to just sit there and kind of wait for it to happen, and that's
that's why I want to lean towards getting swallowed whole and hope that it can just like maybe crush you with its trying to swallow you action.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, a mix of lack of air, but drowning or like suffocating, like, dude, freaks me out. Like, the lead time is just God.
Yeah. And just your body's like fighting it.
Yeah, you're in
the
full panic mode. Yeah. Swallow me up.
Here's to being swallowed to death.
Yeah, right. By a megalodon.
So, here we are, back on Amity Island. This is the Jony Jawscast. I am your host, Johnny Horror. With me tonight, once again, as always, the number one deckhand, first mate, dude who's just on board the vessel because nobody else will be. You know, why not? Brian Calvert.
Damn it.
How are you, buddy?
So good.
Yeah?
It was better 10 seconds ago. So
okay, never better. Got
take
it.
what you can get.
The best you've ever been, obviously. Right. Here we are. Well, like I said, we're back here on Amity Island doing the Jony Jawscast, making our way through all the various, points on the island, and talking about shark movies, and very, very specifically a Megalodon movie this evening. Maybe not the one that is currently in theaters, which might have been ideal, but...
I didn't know this was a Megalodon movie until we started it.
No?
No.
See, I did know that.
Yeah.
I think we might have discussed it on our last episode,
Probably.
which we recorded back in like April.
Yeah.
This is now
2018.
very, very nearly September. This episode will be dropping sometime in October. So, Brian, what do you recollect? How old you were, or just when you first became aware of the Megalodon?
Oh, man. I don't know. Like, knowing there were sharks, very young. Knowing that there was a prehistoric, like, giant shark, I don't know when I first learned about that. I feel like it was probably pretty young. I don't know. It was probably like some Jaws era, like, oh, there's this little thing that used to happen. And probably as a kid, I was like, what? The biggest shark ever? And we all, dumb boys probably talked about it. But I can't remember like a distinct moment of realizing that there used to be a 30-foot plus shark. Yeah, no, I don't know. Damn.
I think about the time that like it had to have first like stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
Was the first time I saw Jaws, because there's the moment early on in the film where Chief Brody is flipping through the shark book.
That's right.
And he sees the shot of the National History Museum.
Right.
Like set of Jaws.
Yeah.
And like 6 different like doctors of you know scientific history.
That's
like
so good.
Standing inside this set of Jaws, and you just see it for a split second, and you're like, wait, what? What the fuck?
Yeah.
There's a shark that can swallow 6 men at a time? What are you talking about?
Oh, it's so good too. They just like that split second, like set that little tone, like it's huge.
Yeah. And
cool.
It just puts it in your mind that, you know, essentially the shark that they're dealing with in Jaws is unprecedented,
right.
You know?
Yeah. Totally.
And I think that was probably the first time I really became aware of it. Obviously, after I saw Jaws, I became really infatuated with sharks. So I read a lot of shark books. I went to, you know, back when you would fucking go to the library and not the internet. God, I feel like I'm a million years old. But I'd come home with like 6 different like shark books and just go through them. I would usually, if I'm being completely honest, usually only read the bits about the man-eating sharks.
Right.
I would get a little bit into some of the other sharks and just try and figure out about them for sure. But I mean, I would, anytime I got a book, I would flip straight to the Great White page and read all about that. But I actually got that specific book that they use in Jaws. Like I got that book and like read through it, because all those pictures and everything that he looks at in that scene in Jaws, like I had that book at one point or another.
If you can still get it,
I'm sure you could look it up and find it. It's great.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean all the bits in it too, with the guy that's like got his leg like shoot off from random ass parts too, where you're like, how the fuck did the shark eat his leg diagonally? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's just chomping.
But once I got a hold of those books, that's kind of when I really became aware that there's this prehistoric shark that was essentially like a great white times 10.
Right, yeah. You're like, okay, what's bigger?
Yeah.
How big can a great white get? Oh, there's this other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, though.
And then, you know, years later, I read Steve Alton's, you know, novelization of the, or I shouldn't say novelization, his novel, Meg, and I think, as we've talked about before, when we did our Meg episode, I think those novels are great horror adventure novels. They're very, very scary. Okay. They are described in great detail of what it would be like to be eaten by a megalodon, which
it's crazy.
Unfortunately, we don't get a ton of in this flick, but you know, that's to be continued. For now, for the time being, we're getting a phone call at Chief Brody's house.
All right.
So here at Chief Brody's house, we're just getting caught up on what's going around on Amity Island, what's going down. Basically, what shark news we have. I don't think we have a ton of stuff as far as shark news is concerned. The only tidbit that I can really think of is that Meg 2 is now on video on demand. You can rent it and watch it at home. But while I am a big proponent of just being able to watch shit at home because I like the convenience of it, I have a child. It's hard to make it out to the movies. That being said, I think Meg 2 is a film that you should absolutely see on the big screen if you can.
I would love to see it on the big screen.
Okay.
Personally. I haven't seen it yet. But personally,
that's not my fault. You were invited. You were invited. It wasn't like I went.
You invited me that afternoon.
I only found out that I was going like the day before, and the entire time I was like, he's not gonna go. He's not gonna go. We literally hung out 5 days ago. He's not gonna go. He's still mad at me for getting him drunk, even though he's a grown-ass man and he should know how to pace himself and drink water.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I did invite you. I just want that to be said. And I also, when I went to the movie, I did not drink. So, you know, there you go.
Wow.
I know.
You were saving yourself.
I was driving, so...
So you were saving yourself.
I went and saw the movie by myself.
When we go see it together, your second time, would you go see it a second time?
Mm-hmm.
Meg 2? Mm-hmm. You're like, yes, repeat in the theaters. Not just because it's with me and because alcohol can be provided, but you would actually see it again in theaters.
Somebody asked me, they asked me recently at the bar, they're like, what movie, because they were asking, they're like what's a good movie right now? I was like, well, it kind of depends. Like I've seen most of them that came out this summer, and they're like, like what was the best one? I was like, well, that depends on your definition of best. like in my mind, I'm like, well, Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible were like, and I feel like poor Mission Impossible just got the shaft because
just snowballed
because Barbie and Oppenheimer came out the weekend after.
Dude, poor Tom Cruise, he's probably just
buried it.
Counting his fists into the hill that is Scientology.
He's like, now. I did so many stunts and almost killed myself so many times.
Poor bastard.
But both of those, Oppenheimer is just like, I don't know any other way to describe it other than that it's incredible. It's like a perfect film. So
now that it's been out for a minute, I keep I try not to, but on Instagram there's like
clips and
scenes. I'm just like, oh fuck
It's such a massive movie that you can just
Right.
watch those clips out of context and
True.
it won't really do anything.
The only ones
for
I've
it.
seen are like with him and Albert Einstein, which are like
Yeah.
obviously like historically amazing, and
Yeah.
I want more. And I know that there's so much in that cast.
Yeah.
In the clips that I haven't seen, just knowing who's in the cast, I'm just like, oh, I need to go to the movies. I told Kelsey last night, I'm like, we're fucking up. I'm like, this whole summer, we've just been like, oh, let's just move into this house and just fucking
let's do like big adult things.
Be adults. And I'm like, fuck that, I want to go to the movies. I'm like, Tom Cruise almost died. Harrison Ford probably almost died. It's like every day.
He's always crashing a plane or something.
There's Barbie. There's bombs. There's sharks.
Yeah.
There's 5 right out the gate heavy hitters that are all still in theaters. Yeah. I haven't seen a single fucking one of them. I'm getting upset about it.
I apologize.
No,
it's
fine.
I saw all of them. I haven't seen Barbie yet. But Barbie's one that I'm like, yeah, I can wait for streaming. Like, I don't think there's anything even remotely like, I gotta see Barbie on the big screen. I just don't.
You have seen it though.
I have not seen Barbie.
Oh!
I have not seen Barbie.
I can't go see Barbie with you as a first. Kelsey really wants to see it. Out of all these fucking movies, she's like, we're gonna go see Barbie.
I tried to. It was supposed to be you, me, and Christian.
That's right.
Celeste made the joke about me going to see it with Christian, and I was like, oh yeah, that's funny. I'll tell Christian. And Christian was like, no, dude, let's go. Should we take Brian? And in my mind, I'm like, Brian's never gonna go for this. And then he like threw it in the group message.
Yeah.
And
then
you gave like a minimal response, and I was like, oh yeah, no, he's never gonna go for it. I had to break it to Christian. Christian's like, he doesn't want to go. I was like, no.
I said yes.
You said yes, but it was not a real yes.
It was a real yes, Christian. It was a real yes.
Anyways, I digress. Somebody asked me, they're like, what is the best movie that you saw? And I was like, well, what's the best and what's the one that I enjoyed the most? Or like, what's the one that you enjoyed the most? And I said Meg 2.
Damn.
That was without
seeing Barbie.
Without seeing Barbie. I still don't think that would be a contender as much as I love Brian.
Barbie is going to contend with Meg 2.
I do not.
Alright. Peace around. I've heard good things.
Very, very much so.
I've just heard a lot of positive reviews about Barbie, and I've heard very minimal reviews about Meg 2.
No, you haven't watched my review on Meg 2. Thank you.
I haven't watched the fucking movie yet.
Yeah.
Why would I watch a review? It usually starts with like, spoiler alerts.
There was no spoilers in this one.
Shocking.
Maybe
where their nipples.
But there might have been nips.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter remains, I saw Indiana Jones drunk. I saw Mission Impossible drunk. I saw Oppenheimer drunk. I saw The Flash drunk.
I saw The Flash. It's on demand now, so I saw The Flash.
I saw the Meg 2 sober and had more fun. And everything's more fun when I'm drunk. Everything is more fun when I'm drunk. So the fact that I saw Meg 2 sober and I had more fun watching Meg 2 than I did.
And it surpassed all the drunk movies.
Absolutely.
Damn.
So that's
making me more frustrated though.
I don't want to spoil it because eventually we will cover Meg 2 on this podcast.
Please don't.
But like Meg 2 is what Meg should have been. So
but when I take Kelsey to the movies, we're gonna see Barbie first. So
yeah, well, I would be very disappointed if you decided to take her to see Meg 2. Actually, I don't know. I might actually be pretty impressed.
Kelsey would be very disappointed if I took her to see Meg 2 first. I'm just gonna tell her it's Barbie. I already got the tickets. Barbie's in theater 5. No, it's also in theater 2. I don't know why it says Meg 2, but this is what my tickets say. Trust me, it's in my pocket. Let's go. Sit down. These are your seats.
Well, unfortunately, we're not talking about Meg 2 tonight. We are talking about...
We are not.
The Black Demon!
Oof.
And, we are... Gosh... being called away to the Amity police station. Here at the Amity police station, we just gotta talk about a couple of things. Brian, I apologize. I did not give this to you in your notes, but as per usual, we need your best bad breakdown. Is this something that you could possibly do on the fly?
That's right. Alright, give me a second. I missed a couple things, actually. There were a few that I was like, ooh, I forgot to fill those out.
It's alright.
I know that one. I don't know.
We'll give it time. Worry about the bad breakdown right now.
Fuck! I gotta think about it. Bad breakdown.
Well, in the meantime, we could just talk about, like, when was the first time you heard about this film? Was it on this podcast?
No, I saw it when the preview came out. There was a solid preview that came out, and I was like, oh,
I think I showed you the preview.
You probably did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, man, it did not quite live up to said standards.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the preview actually does a pretty good job of marketing this film. I won't say selling this film, I'll say marketing this
That's
film.
a great way to put it.
You know, not to you know, get too ahead of ourselves, but I do think that they did a hell of a job with being like, hey, this is a movie with a big shark in it that's gonna eat people.
A shark in it.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I still didn't know until we started the film that it was supposed to be a megalodon film. I thought it was a shark film. Cool. Assuming it's going to be a bigger great white. I had no idea.
I don't think they actually sell it so much in the actual trailer, but like in the description of the trailer. It's like, oh yeah, this new megalodon film. You know, if you don't have a bad breakdown...
I have a general bad breakdown.
Hit me.
My general bad breakdown is that whatever his stupid fucking title, VP of Sales or whatever, for Ford, runs amok, finds himself diving into the oil sales and getting himself in a shit ton of trouble. He finds a nice Mexican lady, marries her, makes a family... uses his Ford money to supplement his oil development that goes awry, in which he not only angers the locals, but their gods. Therefore, bringing upon, apparently, a megalodon to his new oil rig funded by his Ford money.
So... Brian is referencing the fact that Josh Lucas plays the douchebag corporate person
in every movie.
In Ford versus Ferrari specifically. Apparently,
yes, he does.
Apparently, that you know, deal went bad, so he decided to get into the oil business and do some shady shit, and that leads to bringing you around.
Apocalyptic megalodon, yeah. Based off gods.
Megalodon. You know, that's all great. It's slightly terrifying. You know, maybe there's a bit of concern, but I still want to go and enjoy some beautiful white sand beaches. Here at these lovely beaches on Amity Island, we are just going to talk about the good stuff, aka the stuff we really liked about this movie. So, Brian, why don't you hit me with a good thing?
The guy from Nacho Libre.
Yeah. No,
I think
he's definitely in this movie.
For the first hour of the film, that was my only thing on the good list. Was that all of a sudden I looked up and I was like, "This guy from Nacho Libre," and he killed it. He probably had one of the best roles in the entire film.
He's just a boat driver, and he doesn't even take him all the way.
Nope.
Can't even say he takes him from point A to point B. He doesn't even do that.
He had his personal boat on the beach that said "Ship Happens" painted on the side. He puts them on the oil-sponsored boat, takes them maybe halfway to some random dock out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, a little odd.
And says, "Nah, I can't go any further," because he fucking knows what's going down. And sends White Boy out on his way on his own boat.
Yeah.
And he turns around and goes right back to the beach. And just goes back to sleep.
Good for him.
It was amazing.
Yeah, he even sees the mother being harassed by the locals and just ignores.
Yeah,
so
that was kind of...
He's definitely a winner.
Yeah, not ideal. I did have another one, though, that you and I talked about, and it was that little bit of voodoo reference.
Yeah. No, this is your catch, actually. Like,
I kind of loved it. Just, like, it had a little bit of, toe into it. That there was, like, this whole voodoo god kind of aspect over the entire situation.
Yeah, so that was like my interpretation of the trailer of the film is that somebody else had brought this shark about rather than it necessarily being a force of nature. Like I kind of thought that like the town had become downtrodden and that people were, losing money, losing hope, and that everything was just getting really decrepit. So somebody brought that shark out to essentially destroy the oil rig.
Right.
And that was kind of my interpretation of the trailer.
Cool. That's rad, though.
I hadn't really quite put the two together like you had when we were watching it and you like looked at me and you said, "Hey, isn't this kind of like that bit in Jaws, the Revenge, the book?" And I was like,
"Book specifically?
You haven't even read the book." But it's amazing to me that you remember that. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the shit that I will beg this guy to remember on a day-to-day basis and he will forget is astounding. God bless him. He's got a lot on his plate, but still be like, "Hey, just check your calendar, see if you got some time for me." Days later, I'll be like, "Hey, did you check?" And he'll be like,
"Voodoo
yes!
shark!"
Totally. Voodoo shark. Which is essentially very in line with what happens in Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah.
The novel, the novelization. In the film, they don't go into it very much, but in the book, there's a character that uses voodoo to get the shark to attack the Brodies, basically. Right. And I agree. That's very much... I kind of like that being more the approach. And I was kind of hoping, honestly, that was going to be somewhat of the payoff in this film.
Same.
That kind of leads into one of the things that I had listed for the goods in this one, which is just the premise. This film really drew me in. Like, I saw all the bad reviews. I knew that it wasn't highly rated by any means, but I just liked the premise of a group of people being stuck on an oil rig and this kind of mythical megalodon coming out from the depths to attack them,
right? Without
there being too much of a reason why. I really, really, really enjoyed that setup. I thought that was really cool, and I mean, I still think it's cool. I think there's a hell of a movie to be made from that premise. Whether or not we got it is, remains to be seen. But there is a sequence in this film that I thought was really kind of cool and really out of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense, but it's kind of like right in line with the over-the-top bullshittery that I like in my horror movies, which there's a sequence in which the daughter falls into the water, and she falls into what is essentially like a watery graveyard. There's just body parts littered everywhere. Fingers, legs, hands, and like all sorts of shit. And I don't know, because we got to get a little bit of backstory here. The shark does have the odd power of being able to give people hallucinations when they're in the water.
Right. It was like a foggy thing used. I mean, it was pretty primarily anytime someone was in the water.
Yeah, but like not
explained
given,
enough.
not given enough to really understand why or what was happening.
Exactly.
So and that happened at various points. Excuse me, that happened at various points in the film, but I don't know if this was one of those points or not. Like, I don't know if it was, but nevertheless, she falls into this watery graveyard of just like fucking body parts littered everywhere, and it was so unexpected, so out of the blue.
Yeah.
I just got such a kick out of it. I was like, yes, this is the level of fucking insanity that this film should be dealing in all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
And I think one of our lead actors felt that same way too, but more on that later.
Especially since the family had just gotten to the rig, and she just happened to like misstep into the water, and it was just like, whoa, okay, we're in it.
It is a very, very intense moment.
Yeah,
in and out of context, for sure. What do you have? What else do you have for goods?
I liked the intro diver scene a lot. I thought that was a cool, aspects of it. I thought there were certain aspects of it that set it up really cool, as them being in the water, the fact that it's leaking oil, so all the water around them has like oil clouds.
That was just something that I liked a lot throughout the film. I thought it added a very cool aesthetic.
So cool.
I thought it hides the CGI-ness of the shark very, very well.
Yeah, it softens a lot of those angles.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was super cool. And that intro was pretty rad. Like, just seeing like these clouds of black oil, and there's only a little bit of light, and he only just sees like the tail kick through, or a fin, and you could tell like there's a little bit of perspective with like the pillars, that kind of gives you a sense.
I like that shot a lot. I thought that was a very cool introduction to the fish.
I'm like, okay, I like this. There's not a big touch on it. You don't see the whole thing right out the gate.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, good start. Good start. Solid start. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I agree. I thought that was all pretty well done. Yeah. There's a little bit of... I lean over to you, and there's a point where the dude that's on the little raft...
Right.
The background, you're like, dude, those stars are coming in
really
hot. You're like, God, this son of a bitch just... looks like he's in a fucking studio.
Almost see what watt those bulbs were.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's really, really bad. But other than that, I thought that sequence was pretty fucking fire.
Yeah, I like that intro a lot. That was a big one for me. Especially going forward with the rest of the movie. I was like, man, well, they set it up really damn well. I thought that was a cool, fun start.
Solid intro.
Yep. Absolutely.
I really got a kick out of the part, the very first time they say it a couple of times in the film, but the very first time that they say the Black Demon, there is like a thunderous piece of scoring that happens. It's just like, and both you and I looked at each other and were like, oh yeah, Leo from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just got a kick out of that. That shit made me laugh. So it's ridiculous and over the top as it was. That ends up on my goods.
That was a good one.
Do you have anything else?
That was most of it. The rest are kind of jokey. So
Okay,
those were, the good ones.
I have one last one, which is that was one badass white boy, which is the very, very, very end of like the film. Both you and I, up to that point, have been like, and we'll get more into this in a moment, but there's not enough shark. There's not enough like mayhem going on.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of sequences in which the climax, takes place. There's a couple of images and a couple of shots that I just thought were absolutely cool, scary, like jaw-dropping and like jump out of your chair like clapping.
Yeah.
And like that took the film up a significant, like at least 0.5 for me, just those last couple of shots.
Yes.
Because it was really not doing good at all. And then when those things happened, I was like, dude, that is the shit.
Yeah.
Like seeing the shark just come up from the depths.
Huge.
And both those shots, the one that's like vertical down, seeing the shark rise up, I thought was amazing. And
so
then
cool.
seeing the shot from the side where
as
the
it
shark
swallows him
Yeah.
before the detonate. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
then
cool.
like you just think that he got eaten. And then the bomb goes off.
And you see in its gills.
Yeah, dude. Like I thought
That
that
was
was
cool.
I thought that was fucking really cool.
Yep.
That made me be like, oh fuck yeah, they did it. Like,
when we started the movie, out of 400 reviews that were on there, it was a 2-star, and I told you, I'm like, that's where all 400 people gave it the 2nd star.
Absolutely.
That segment of 4 seconds.
100%.
Because that's when I would have given it a 2nd star.
Yes.
Because everything up until that, I'm like, 1, hard 1.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, alright, 2.
Yeah.
And then it all made sense
Yeah.
seeing that review up there.
Yeah.
I'm like, alright, now I get it.
Yeah.
You gotta watch all the way through. Which we talked to Celeste about. She was like, have you ever walked out of a movie before? And I was like, no, never. And I'm like, I can't wrap my head around walking out of a movie.
No.
And this is like the most case in point situation.
Yeah, it was. See,
It didn't, make the film for me, but
yeah,
I
but
it
it made sitting all the way through it worth it.
Yes.
I think.
I was like,
had it
okay.
not had those final shots, then we both would have been kind of like.
I'm going home.
I think we yeah. I don't even know if we had done this podcast. It's
Exactly.
like what good things do we have to say about this?
I was like, man, if you want to record a real trash talking podcast, we can do it. But man,
when the thing is though, it's like when it's this bad. I just want to get the fuck off the beach and, get on a boat.
There we go.
And head out to the high seas. Unfortunately, I got with a little bit more of an aggressive captain, and we ended up on Ben Gardner's boat. Here on Ben Gardner's boat, we just talk about the shit that we didn't like about this flick. And I have a feeling this is going to be a very long segment. So, Bri, why don't you take it away and hit me with your first dislike?
Oh, man. A lot of mine are in the same category, but they still... I broke them out a little bit, but man, I was going, what's the right word? Chronologically as we were watching it.
Yeah, me too.
I was just like, the first one on my list, I was like, this funky, fake-ass family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, this casting is painful.
Yeah.
Like, everything about it. And we were talking about it the whole time. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, the most whitest of white boys, the like maybe half Mexican gal, and then like the most very Mexican children. Yes. I'm like, what dynamic are we pitching here, and why? Also, yeah. So that was one of my first ones.
I agree with that. It was one of those first things where like in these types of films, these types of family driven, you know, horror flicks, you have this like, oh, we gotta show how they work as a unit beforehand,
the connection,
how they are laughing and talking, and I'm like, I hate that shit because it's just so cliche and it's so forced, and I'm like, I've watched these people and I'm like, God, they're just coming on so hard with like, oh, you're so like, oh, you're this.
This is your personality. I'm saying it out loud.
God, you're just like, oh, so. I'm like,
you're the angsty teenager. Yeah. You're the soft-spoken intellectual son.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate all of that shit. Like,
do better.
It made me think of I don't know if you've seen Jordan Peele's Us, but like...
No, I haven't yet.
It is a very, very similar like introduction to the family. They're in the car and the dynamic is very much the same.
Yeah, everyone uses it. The car ride's the easiest.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, that's what it made me think of, where it's like, Jordan Peele does it a little bit better, but it still very much feels like, yeah, this isn't how people really are in a car. And I don't know, like that was a big standout just right out the gate, and then just kind of it gets even worse from there.
As soon as they get out of the car, it gets worse.
Yeah.
The family dynamic just gets worse.
Yeah.
And worse and worse.
And it was one of those things where, like I told you at the very beginning, like before we really kind of had a minute for the film to settle, I told you that I was really excited to see Josh Lucas in this film because I like him as an actor. I like a lot of the stuff that I've seen him in. I think he's a fun, underrated actor. And boy, did I eat my words very, very quickly.
See, I haven't seen him in that many things, which is probably the problem.
Yeah.
So, like, I tried very hard to not correspond him with, like, a douchebag. And the entire time, I was just like, man, you are not making this easy.
No. Well, I don't think his character's really given a lot to do besides be a douchebag.
True. Right.
And we'll talk more about that in a few, but like the first negative thing that I had, this is the first thing that we started joking about, which is his hair.
I didn't write it down.
Dude, his wig, and this is something that I said in like Ford versus Ferrari, like it's just like, dude, yes, yes. Just is so like, I'm like, oh my God, like I could see the divide between your head and the actual like wig itself, like
2-inch overcarriage.
Yeah, it's like so bad. I'm like, dude, you're bald. Like I can picture you bald.
Yeah.
Like if I can legitimately see what it looks like for you to be bald, and that is more natural, I'm like, you're wearing a wig.
Be bald.
Yeah, just be bald.
Like what we talked about.
Just
I'm
be
like,
bald.
Jude Law that shit, man.
Yeah.
Rock that widow's peak. Own it. Own it in a way, you know, obviously, I mean,
there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was a big thing, and then followed swiftly by gosh, he just comes across as an absolute tool to the locals. Like in no world would I, as a white man, ever just like drop off in a town in Mexico and start asking random locals, do you speak English?
Yeah. Jump out of the car to a guy.
Do you speak English? Like 3 times in a row, particularly if my wife speaks fucking Spanish.
Fluent Spanish.
What the fuck? That's the most ass backwards smartest way to approach any
Waits
fucking
until he's
situation.
about to get his ass fucking handed to him, and then comes in. It's just like
with cash.
Yeah, with cash in our fucking pocket.
Yeah.
For the community. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, where was the donation 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, before
your husband was about to get
your husband was
shanked.
like fucking running his mouth,
Left
being
at the
a
oil rig.
douchebag, like being like, hey man, I just need to know, like, I'm with the oil company, man. Like, you know, we fucking practically built this place. Yeah, it's probably not your best approach.
It's a scar over there. You know, Mufasa died, right? He was hanging onto a cliff and he was lipping off. And what happened?
He wasn't lipping off. He was asking for help from his brother. It's not his fault. He didn't know his brother was a sack of shit.
Tomato, potato.
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my foot down. I think you went off on a cliff yourself on that one.
All right, whatever. You had the scar.
You did have a very blatant scar that I'm like, man, they tried a little too hard with that one, didn't they?
Well, it started at the top of his forehead and went all the way down to his lip. He shouldn't have an eye. Just saying. If the teenage girl can have fucking green contacts in, he should have a cataract.
Does not have green contacts.
He should have the foggy one, like Scar.
I looked her up. Those are her natural eye color.
I'll buy it.
What's your next one?
On the bad list?
Yes.
I didn't use his name. I just put as Gringo. And then quotes. Keep an eye on my family, would you?
Yeah.
Hands the bartender a random amount of cash, and then gets on a boat and heads out to open sea. After they've already been harassed.
Yeah, that was like my next note too, which is Josh Lucas leaving his family at a fucking cantina, like, and giving the bartender, whom I assume he's only ordered drinks from, hey, I trust you, like,
sure,
random person in a town,
yeah,
like, look after my wife and children. Here's some money, to definitely not rape my wife and children.
Right. Of all people, you're just like,
here's the
give it to the bartender, whatever.
Here's the thing. It's not the just stigma of that that setting so much as the way that they just kind of film it and they frame it, and the way that they don't really have any interaction with this bartender. No. It's just this guy that he hands money to, and and the way he just kind of looks at him is shady, and you're just like, okay, that doesn't feel good. And it's also like, dude, take care of your own fucking, like, I would never in a million years just leave my wife and kids at this place where they've already been like harassed by people.
Yep. It's just like, oh, here, take care of my wife and family.
Yeah. And like fucking
Have to be. It's like the longest day of my life, and we've barely been recording.
the Friends reference.
Right? Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
You hit it on the head. You were like, did they write the script in 1999 maybe? or?
Yeah, I just don't understand it. Like, I tried to, like, play devil's advocate and be like, well, maybe their parents watched it.
Sure.
And,
maybe
like, in a very, very real...
reference to it in the beginning.
In a very, very real world scenario, that makes sense. But in this very heightened, like, why are we just making references for the sake of making references?
Like, oh, fuck.
It does not make sense at all.
Wouldn't give these children anything to say.
They were on a break! Like, oh my god. What the fuck? What is this, circa 1996? Like,
Dude.
Fuck this shit. Like, that was, like, stuck out so badly to me.
Painfully.
Yeah, I did not like that
Painfully.
at all. I did not like that at all.
And I was still at the restaurant.
It
was, like, early on. Like, if you're gonna hit a Friends reference, like, softball it in, and then hit it again later. Yeah. Or, like, do something. Or just don't fucking, like, why?
Ever.
There was no need for that.
Yeah. It was a very, very painfully dated reference that it was just like, all right, cool. Some 40-year-old dude wrote this shit.
And he was like, non-negotiable. And everyone's just like, okay. If kids, take it away.
This is the cross you're going to die on.
Rolling. Like, hard hill.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
No, we need a 90s reference. It'll make the 90s kids laugh. I mean...
90s kids love shark movies, so maybe they're...
We're talking about it! We're talking about it!
You're not wrong.
As frustrated as I am, we brought it up.
We knew what they were talking about.
Fucking stupid. Oh, look, right at time I was like, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? That was my only reference. Like, lean into it if you want to do it. Just why?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have him, like, I don't know, watching it on his fucking iPad or some shit like that, you know? Not that they could get the rights to it or anything, but just...
True. This movie could not afford by any means, but that would have been a good segue.
Yeah.
For her to, like, tie into the conversation. Yeah. It could have been that episode.
Even if he just had his headphones in and, like, he pulled them off and was like, oh, God, Ross and Rachel, da-da-da-da-da. Like, that would have been a much better, like... Because as it stands, it just comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of fucking left field, hard in the paint.
Yeah, yeah.
My next one was just his little hissy fits. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he has just so many of them.
I couldn't wrap my head around any of them. None of them are warranted. The overreaction.
Yeah, the Josh Lucas's overacting in this film, like, I think we could just talk about this now. Like, he's in a different movie.
Yes,
like
100%.
Everybody else is more or less acting at the same level, but
yes,
that man is on fucking cocaine.
Yes, everyone else is like hitting the caliber of like scary shark film.
Yes,
and he's like up and over the mountain with like reactions, like emotions,
body language.
Yes. Oh,
dude, it's bad. It's so bad, and he is arguably the biggest actor.
Yes,
in this movie. So I do not understand.
Next to what's his name from Nacho Libre? Yeah, fucking A. We're talking big names here. I mean, read the room.
Big names. You don't even know his name.
No. But what bothered me is just like, okay, you know, benefit of the doubt. By the end of the movie, you're like, oh, it's because he was trying to cover his ass and provide for his family or whatever. And that's why he's just like so over the top constantly. Like, that's why he's so upset at every little thing that's happening because he knows shit's coming to the surface.
Yeah.
But they don't hit that timeline well enough to also, get him to that point.
Like that's not how you would act. That's not how I would act.
No.
It would be, you wouldn't draw more attention to yourself if you were trying to hide.
You're losing your shit.
Yeah. Absolutely not. You would absolutely play it as fucking razor sharp as possible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like, without a doubt, and this is absolutely unintentional, he was the most entertaining part of the film.
That's true.
I mean,
that is true.
I think it was every, I don't know, 1 to 2 minutes, you and I were like slapping each other, being like, what is he doing now? What is he doing right now? Like, why?
Because the amount that there is lacking of shark,
yeah,
he fills voids with just insanity.
that is kind of my next thing, which is like, all of the human drama bullshit is so bad and it's never ending. This film,
oh my god,
this film can give lessons to soap operas. It's just every other scene was somebody having an argument or having a like fucking philosophical discussion about what it means to be afraid of the gods, and because we've overstepped as humans, like, and in that regard, the message of the film, which is just obviously, you know, environmentalism bullshit, just like comes on so strong and so heavy, and like I understand, like I'm there, like I get it. We take too much from our Earth, but guess what? At the end of the day, the Earth is gonna be fine. We're not. I don't think we have to worry about the world. Us as a species, if we want to survive, we should be a little bit smarter. But at the end of the day, the world's going to be just fine. The world's going to fucking lay us to rest and not think twice. So I don't give a fuck about whether or not the planet's going to be okay. The planet's going to be fine. Us as a species, yeah, we probably fucked ourselves. But, you know, I'm sorry, a giant shark movie, maybe not the best way to go about teaching that message, or maybe it is. I don't know, but
turned into a weird swing.
Yeah.
And that over dramatized, or whatever the terminology is, right? Dramatized? Dramatized. Yeah.
Dude,
it was like a half-hour review, and I just being like, "Where's the shark,
dude?" I swear to Christ, there is like, I'm not even saying just like footage of the shark, but like actual shark encounters in action, less than 5 minutes, and this is a fucking hour and 40-minute movie, which leaves a lot of fucking time for Josh Lucas and his Hispanic wife to be having arguments. And even the kids say, are mom and dad fighting again?
Again.
Like, are mom and dad having one of their fights?
Yeah. Like, yes, they
are. I even told you, like, there's a point where, like, the daughter looks at the dad and is just like, Dad, why do you look so weird right now? And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is just what he looks like in his, like, fucking black wife beater with his tattoo, just, like, his white boyness, his little chip on his lip. I was like, yeah, this is what it looks like when he gets ready to beat your mom. Like, I could not picture a scenario where Josh Lucas's character is not an absolute shitbag. I just cannot.
He has no redeeming qualities.
Yeah,
in the entire film.
And I even told you, like, they make constant references in the first 3 quarters of this film about there needs to be a sacrifice. There needs to be a sacrifice. And I'm like, obviously he's going to be the one to sacrifice himself, because that's what this film is very heavy-handedly suggesting, that he's going to be the one to do it. But he's too much of a self-centered dipshit to ever be the one to do that. They never laid the groundwork for this guy to actually be a decent human being. He's just a fucking tool.
Just painful.
Yeah.
Because you want that. You want that redeeming quality that you can almost relate to, or can tie into, or at least like have some sympathy for. and there's just nothing. You're like, fucking sacrifice yourself already. Get it over with. Fuck off.
I mean,
and now you're in a tank top. Okay, can you sooner than later would be cool.
The sooner the better.
Clock's ticking. Movie's almost over. Whenever you want to just die, and we can finish out the rest of this movie with our fingers crossed. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Fuck. I don't know. Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, I just don't. They didn't earn that sacrificial ending.
Nope.
I got a couple of things in regards to that. We talked about, like, when he does dive at the very end and he's dropping, like, that man drops so fucking quick.
Oh, that's right.
I don't care what weight you would have to have, like, how fast he drops, you would have to have, like, your body weight attached to you.
Or more.
To drop, like, he was dropping so fucking quick.
He went feet first and was just like,
boom! Straight down.
It's like they tied a car to his fucking feet.
And
just like, bye.
Later. And, like, not only is that not physically possible, but you would fucking explode.
Hey, your fucking eyes would pop out of your head.
Yes,
probably.
like there's no way around it. But like, I'm sorry.
Like, good lord.
Your body needs to adjust to the pressure.
Oh, he probably went down 100 feet in like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That just
less than 10 seconds.
That's
straight down feet first.
Sorry, my suspension of disbelief has just been fucked. I don't give a fuck about mythological sharks.
Yeah, it was just like
Scar baby with fucking cowboy hats and eye patches. Like, I just don't give a shit.
And then he just gets down to depth and just takes off this little like bat belt and just stops.
Dude, he stops hard.
Okay.
He stops.
What
like
were those made out of?
He just stops like a car that just slammed on its brakes. Like he
goes.
Goes. Yeah. Like literally, that's what it looks like.
That's because that's what it was. On a suspension line, he just unclips his little bat belt that has fucking a ton of unknown metals.
Literally
from Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally lets go of it, and the whole belt's just like, shoot. As fast as he was, I'm like, well, that checks out.
The other thing
that could have killed the shark. It'd have been beneath him.
Dropped it on top of the shark.
Wait! Straight to the bottom.
Sharks can't breathe if they don't swim, so you knock a shark out, you're good to go.
The ocean floor about 500 tons. Win-win.
Then when he gets a hold of his family, like, hey, I just didn't know that they would be able to communicate via radio.
Well, they didn't have a radio, so
yeah, they didn't have radios, oddly enough, but now they do. And then when
not only radio, but radio connected to someone who's God knows how deep underwater. As they're speeding away towards land on a raft.
Really good reception. When multiple times he says to different characters, I left you a gift in my bag.
I told you, I'm like, what is this fucker? It's Santa Claus?
You were saying it as I was thinking it. I was like, what the fuck is this Santa Claus bullshit? Like, what's going on?
He immediately leads off with, like, the worker. And he's like, I left you something in my bag.
I left you a gift in my bag.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And he pulls out. It's like,
it's the pamphlet, paperwork. All the things like, saying that the company was responsible.
He can take,
yeah.
And then he, like, apologizes to his daughter and, like, says a heartfelt thing. Then he goes to his son. He's like, left you a gift in my bag. I'm like, were they named? Were they labeled? Who's getting what now, Santa Claus? What are we fucking doing from the depths?
He just says...
Was the pamphlet for your son or for him? There's a lot of shit in this bag. Who's?
Kid just pulls out a pair of jeans, a pair of Levi's. Just like, thanks, Dad. He's like, no, it's a Rolex.
Yeah, they're 42
There's the burgundy shirt.
Nice returns permanent. You're bringing out that what? That scene alone made me so angry. God, I hated it so much.
Oh man. Do you have any other shit for me?
It's basically just all encompassing the writing.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much of it.
Poor.
Yeah, it's just
Very, very poor.
yeah, man. They just didn't make it easy at all.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Well, here's
There were,
like the thing that I thought about too. Like, it's not all the writing because, what's his name as is it Chado? Where are we here?
Oh yeah, what is his actual name?
Yeah, Chado.
Shadow.
He's
Caesar.
is the actor is Julio Cesar Chidillo. He's really good in the movie. Actually, he's without a doubt the best actor in the film, and
hands down.
I
Excellent,
buy
actually,
all
right
of his
there.
dialogue, even though he is without a doubt a human exposition device.
Yes.
Every time he's talking, he's just explaining shit.
Yeah.
About
angry.
the myth and the lore, which is fine, but he is just doing so much better acting than everyone else in this movie, and he's dealing with the same dialogue. So
Yeah.
it really is a case of like the actors not being able to rise above the material.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, actually.
And if you're Josh Lucas, who again I like a lot, yes, nothing works.
It was like watching a play.
Yeah, it was like
But
watching
with
a
a
high
moving
school.
camera.
It was like watching a high school play, is what it was like. It wasn't like watching like a legit play. It's like watching a high school
Yeah.
play. Yeah, he sinks the material, for lack of a better
Yes.
metaphor.
Had he matched our
yeah,
other guy's
just-
level,
just
like we would have just
little-
been like,
a
there's,
little bit of
you
subtlety
know,
goes a long way.
yes. And a lot of bit of exaggeration also goes a long way.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Fuck.
But now that we've wrapped up all our business on Ben Gardner's boat, I'm
Yeah.
a little bit hungry, and I'm thinking that maybe we might join the Brodies for dinner.
How was your day? Swell.
So here at dinner with the Brodies, we just want to talk about what inspiration this film takes from our
Ooh.
namesake Jaws. Anything
Yeah.
that stands out to you?
I mean, that little voodoo thing really, like, ticked me off. Not ticked me off, but, you know.
It tickled your fancy, is what it
Yeah,
did.
it like definitely like piqued my interest, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, we've talked about this."
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was really cool. Not that I, you know, hopefully they took inspiration from that, but
Yeah, I agree. I definitely see that being an inspiration at the
Yeah.
very, very least.
maybe, and that could be a reach. And I liked the intro part of what little you do see
Mhm.
of the shark, which they do carry on semi-aggressively
They
to the rest
really
of the
do.
film.
Yes.
You don't see a lot of the shark. Almost wanted to see more, especially
to
in
the
a
film's-
film like this.
Much to the film's detriment.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that was, especially in the intro, I like that little tease of like you just see a fin, and the way they had the oil smoking, basically like you can only see it, and it's like Is he hallucinating? Is he just like, scuba diver fear?
Yeah.
And like we talked about, I was like, man, I used to surf a lot more. Like, when you're in clear water, like your brain just like tricks you. You see seaweed moving around. I can't imagine being underwater.
Yeah.
With gear and being able to like try and like not think of what your brain is trying to make you see. So that was a fun aspect in the beginning.
Yeah.
Specifically the beginning. But yeah, I thought that was cool.
The one bit that I absolutely know they 100% without a doubt stole from Jaws is the part where Josh Lucas is about to dive into the water at the very end, and he goes to put on his mask and he goes, I got no spit.
Yeah.
In a very, like,
loving.
I was going to say, yeah, homoerotic, like, fashion. He hands the mask to Chato, who spits in it for him, and, that might be the great romance of the film as far as I'm concerned, because whatever very aggressive relationship Josh Lucas has with his wife is not nearly as good as the scenes where Chato and Paul are throwing back tequila shots together. So there might be a little bit of a budding romance there. But yeah, that scene to me, I think I damn near spit myself. I was so like, oh my god, how fucking on the nose can you be?
Come on.
But I think those were the big ones. Obviously, there's just I feel like this is a very unique movie.
Yeah.
In the Shark Jaws verse, where you have people going out and getting caught in a certain location. A lot like The Shallows.
I was just gonna say.
I think, which without a doubt, no question, is a better film, and we will one day discuss that film.
Fuck, that's a good movie. I loved that one.
But I like that going out and being stuck with a shark keeping you stuck there. Yep. I like that a lot, actually.
Which is what I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to hit it next. I'm like, I loved the aspect of these shallows, and that I was hoping that was going to be an aspect of this, that it's keeping them there, which it is. But I wanted it to try harder.
They needed to have more escape attempts. I think, in order for that to kind of feel. Yeah.
And we talked about I was disheartened as soon as they got to the rig and there were 2 people left.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough to get killed off. You need a good group of people to start doing outreach.
Really,
to get picked off, and we need more shark and
if you don't count the intro, which I really don't think you should, because that's just you kind of assume that you're gonna have that sort of opening with a film like this. If you don't count that, then you only have 3 deaths in this film, and only 2 of them are ones that are not related to the climax. There's not a lot of death in this film, which really kind of just lowers the stakes, because the film never does anything to make you think otherwise.
Yeah.
I even told you at some point where the little boy falls in, I was like, oh my god, if they kill him right now, I will lose my fucking shit, because this movie will go from piss poor to oh yeah, fuck yeah. They're
doing shit.
They are throwing down, but of
that would have been huge.
They did not have the balls.
That would
do such a thing.
have taken this movie off the rails in a completely different direction. Had they done that?
Yeah, which is
especially with the tempo it had.
Yeah, which is kind of what I think needed to happen.
Yeah,
but
I agree. Someone else needed to have a very significant aggressive scene.
Yeah.
Death scene.
Yeah.
For it to, keep itself where we thought it could have gone.
One could only hope.
Yep.
Well, as we wrap up with dinner, I'm finding myself in need of a nightcap. But that's going to have to wait until our second episode, in which we continue our discussion of the 2023 Megalodon film that is not Meg 2.
Not that one. Different.
But is indeed, in fact, The Black Demon, starring Josh Lucas, our boy. So we will continue our discussion on The Black Demon, and we will talk a little bit about the behind the scenes, hand out some awards, and give our final thoughts and rankings in our second and concluding episode for this, the Jony Jawscast. I am your host, Johnny Horror. With me, as always, my first mate, my ride or die, B-Rye Calvert.
Yeah, baby.
And we are signing off and, bidding you farewell and adieu. And as always, we will catch you motherfuckers on the flip side. Adios, muchachos!